What's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Furnace with your host, Mr. Noah Lance. This is kind of a different video that I'm trying here today. Probably not going to be any cuts, just going to be raw footage since we have the bye week. We actually don't play again until November 1st, which is kind of crazy. We played 3 games in, I think it was like 17 days or something. I can't remember. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But either way, we've got a little bit of time to talk about the last 2 weeks and moving into the rest of conference play this year for the Flames. So bear with me. I don't know how long this is going to last, but I'm pretty much just going to go over my thoughts on some individual play and overall, team play and coaching and what we need to do to move forward and be successful from this point. Because yes, we had a shaky start. We've lost all of our non-conference games except for the main game, of course, but they're FCS opponent. Any FBS non-conference game that we've had, we've lost, and had that tough loss to Jacksonville State at the beginning of the year. I was actually in attendance for that game. It was really hard to see that first little fumble, that hard shot that Vasco took that kind of set the tone for Jax, I felt like, moving forward. And then, of course, Cam Cook is the leading rusher in all of FBS at the moment. So can't really complain too much about that one. But anyways, let's actually get into this and, go over some things that we're doing well, some things we're not doing well, and what we need to change moving forward to win our conference, because it is very much doable still. Very much doable for the Flames to win the Conference USA Championship at this point forward. All right, so let's start off on the offense. Obviously, Vasco has had a tough time this year so far. He's been injured the entire season, even games that he's played, all the way through. You can tell that there's something bothering him. It's unfortunate. I mean, you can't really do much about that. We've tried with Mike and with Houck, which is a freshman, obviously. So, neither of those guys have a lot of experience compared to Vasco. So it's really hard to kind of put them in to fill in his shoes whenever we're already struggling on offense as it is. So, I mean, some good things that I've noticed from Vasco right off the rip is he's extremely athletic and he is a tough cat. He 100% is the guy out of our quarterback room, and that's no disrespect to Mike or to Ethan. I'm excited for both of them to develop as time moves on, but I mean, Vasco got brought here for a reason. He worked well in the coastal system, which is where Chadwell came from, and he's a dual threat guy, and we need to take better advantage of that, which is one of my biggest complaints at this moment. I feel like we are not getting him out of the pocket fast enough to even have that RPO decision to make. We've been sending him in some deep dropbacks, and unfortunately, sometimes dual threat quarterbacks are not deep pocket passers like that, and Vasco can do it when he's on, but you can tell that's just not his game, and we have got to avoid putting him in those situations, because I don't know how many of you watched the New Mexico State game or the UTEP game, but any time that we put him in drop back, it is hard for him to find an open route. I don't know what the problem is, if it's our offensive line. Yes, we lost a lot of guys. We lost our center, who was probably the best center in all of college football at this point, Jordan White. But offensive line has got to hold better on those drop back passes like that, or we're never, ever, ever going to have deep balls, besides on these little wheel routes and these, trick plays where you're throwing a DB off to the side and letting Juju, kind of leak out into open space because he's so fast. But we have got to put Vasco on the run more. And what I mean by that is rolling him out more. We have got to start getting him to the wide side of the field whenever we're lined up, regardless of which hash we're on. We have got to get him rolling to the wide side of the field with Dickens or with Jalen out ahead, and either being a lead blocker for him when he decides to tuck the ball and go, or being there for the dump pass and having our tight ends roll out to that same direction where they can cut off and block if Ethan decides to run. But we've got to take better advantage of this, and we are destroying our offensive momentum anytime that we get on a drive where we're just beating them and pounding them with the run plays, because we have a great running back room, and then we have Vasco drop back in to a deep pass and nobody's open, and he gets sacked or ends up having to throw the ball up, and some freaky crap happens, because that's been our luck this year and last year, realistically. So we have got to get Vasco out of the pocket as fast as possible and give him the opportunity to use his legs in open space, or have the dump pass to The running back, Jalen Coleman, has done an excellent job catching screen passes in the 2 games that they played him in. I don't know why we are not running him more. I know it's hard when you're introducing a new player because you worry the other team's going to think, oh, this guy just came in out of nowhere. We need to watch him. He's the guy the ball's going to, which is likely the case a lot of the times. But the more we work him in, the less they are going to know when he is the one getting the ball. Got to get the ball to our guys with speed and open space. We've got to get Vasco out of the pocket to, one, avoid sacks, avoid routes getting busted and him having to throw the ball away, getting him out of the pocket because he's an athlete and he wants to run the ball. When he drops back, half the time he's thinking where his alley is to go anyways. All right, so let's move on from Vasco and talk about the running backs. Evan Dickens has been fantastic this year. I had a feeling going into the season that he was going to be kind of a slept-on dude. Obviously, we had a few backs that were returning from last year, but Dickens came from Georgia Tech, and that being a very successful rushing program for the last couple of years with Jamal Hayes and Haynes King. I figured, hey, Dickens can't be too far behind, and he's been crushing it so far this year, averaging over 5 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns so far. Caden Williams has done excellent as well. We have got to continue to get these guys the ball as much as possible. Our pass game has been okay at times, but it's not consistent enough for me at this point to not continue to just beat the D-line down with our big backs that we have. I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different running backs that get cycled in, and we really haven't even been playing Jalen Coleman at the running. I mean, he's lined up in the running back position in the backfield, but he's only caught passes. He hasn't rushed so far. So we've really got 5 guys that are just true running backs on top of Vasco having the legs to get us downfield. So we have got to keep working with those guys. Take a page out of Jacksonville State's book and see what they've done with Gavin Wimsatt and Cam Cook there. And if they've had the success that they've had, then we can too. I don't see why we are not trying to model that exact offensive style right now, but who am I? Anyways, let's move on to our receivers. Dante Lee Jr. has been amazing so far this year. Definitely a breakout guy that I don't think a lot of the fans necessarily expected. I think the team and some of the staff probably knew a little bit more about him than the fans did. Of course, we're thinking about Mari. Casey Kane was a guy that was really, in my eyes, going to be the breakout guy. And I still think that he, can step up this year. Mar and Casey Kane are both very tough guys. Dante, though, I mean, he's just a freak athlete, man. He gets out and he makes those catches, and that little 2-minute drill that we had, little fire drill, just him getting hit. I think it was like 3 times in a row or something. Just getting the ball and getting out of bounds was amazing to watch, and we need to be doing more of that with him. These little short passes where Vasco doesn't have to think about who he's throwing to. He doesn't have to sit there and fumble through the route development for him to get the ball out. That's what we need to be rolling with. Reese Smith, coming off of, I think it's ACL injury, like multiple times in his life, is never easy. And that was a guy that I thought was going to be our big go-to target. He's been okay so far this year, but at times, you can tell that his his injury and his size might be hurting him a little bit, but I'm not too sure. He had that 3 touchdown game last year. This is a guy that any given day, your opinion could be completely changed on him. So I am going to let him ride. I want nothing but the best for Reese Smith. I think he's done a great job so far. I think the entire team offensively has just struggled, so I can't really throw anything at him. I mean, we've got a deep receiving room, man. He's a very smart guy. He gets open. He's a great route runner. We've just got to catch balls. So let's move on, I guess, realistically to the defense, because this is the biggest issue that we've had so far this year. Yes, our offense cannot get anything going, but anybody who knows football knows that if your defense is continuously letting the opposing team's offense beat their throat in, the offense on your team is not going to play very well unless you are just the most high-powered offense. Let's use the SEC, for example, right now. Everybody's just freaking cutting down each other's throats, back-to-back drives scoring and just constant back and forth. We are not that type of offense, so we are going to have to get our momentum from the defensive side of the ball, and that is going to have to take a drastic change ASAP. Our linebacker play this year has obviously been hurt. The biggest thing that I've noticed is we do not make the right defensive calls in the right times. We will stay great, stopping the run, or, we didn't stop the run against New Mexico State, which was the worst rushing team in all of FBS. But, I think that we were trying to realistically hold off on their pass game, and we did that fairly well. That's what happens whenever you scheme around the pass. People run on you, and you gotta know how to make adjustments at halftime and kind of beat that out and kind of find that happy medium of, okay, if they bust a long throw on us, that's cool, but let's stop the guy that hasn't ran this much all year from running this much, but I beg to differ. But yeah, man, we have got to find a strength against runs up the middle. We are getting crushed. Up the middle on defense, crushed. And if you're getting crushed up the middle on defense, you're going to lose football games. That's just plain and simple. It's nearly impossible to stay, for one, in your right state of mind whenever you're constantly getting beat down like that by a running back, just smashing your mouth every single play over and over again. But then it opens up the outsides of the fields, which is what happens to us every single time. Teams are running the ball straight down the middle on us, then we are reacting too late, putting our guys inside, and then the next play they're going to these little 8-yard out routes, or having the running back roll out of the backfield and having these little dump passes, and we got nobody there. Or if we do have somebody there, they're playing soft coverage 10 yards off of the receiver or off the running back. Makes no sense to me. You've always got to be a play ahead, and if this is a struggle that's going on internally with the coaching staff, then it needs to be addressed ASAP. I'm not trying to throw rocks at anybody. I'm not trying to call anyone out by name specifically, because I don't know what's going on. This could be a player issue. This could be, one of the 10 guys on our defensive coaching staff issue where something is just not clicking. I don't know what it is, but the main thing that I have noticed is we are allowing teams to destroy us up the middle, and then we close off the middle of the field. We stack the box, and then they throw little 5, 6, 7, 8-yard out routes that turn into first downs and just chip away at us. We'll get teams in third down and long territories, and here we go. We've got the box stacked. Oh my gosh, why? Why do we have the box stacked on a 3rd and 8? They ain't running the ball up the middle. You know what they're doing. They're throwing it to the outside, because they have done that to us across the board, all teams, all year. If you watch film on us, this is something you can do. So our team, our coaching staff needs to take the liberty upon themselves, no pun intended there, to watch our own film and see where our mistakes are coming from. For the most part, I felt like our safeties have played okay. We've had some injuries. I believe Brylan Green had a cast on his arm for a few games this year so far. He's one of our bigger DBs as far as experience and game knowledge goes. But we've had some one-on-one coverage issues at times, but we also, it's foolish to say that Conference USA isn't full of very talented guys, and if you're the corner that is out on the wide receiver one, that's not an easy task. And yes, we have a very, very, very deep corner and safety room, our DB room, but that doesn't mean that every single play you are going to be able to contain the other team's number one guy. There are going to be chunk plays, but what we have to do is stop allowing those chunk plays to be touchdowns. They need to be 15 to 20 yard plays instead of, okay, I'm going to play soft on this guy when we're in the red zone and allow him to cut and stop right in front of me and catch the ball before I can ever get an arm in front of it. And that's what we've been doing. And again, this could be a scheming problem. I'm not blaming players or positions specifically or coaches specifically. There's just something in general, because this is a team effort. It's not just the coaches. It's never just the coaches. It's never just the kids. It's a combination of two factors. There are wild cases where either individuals can be a handful and, don't want to listen to anyone or cooperate with anybody. But for the most part, it's never just one specific person's fault. Okay. So let's just get that out of the way. But, we've had some good moments on defense, but I can't sit here and say that we've played great defense considering, we have played good defense in good times. If you look at how some of these other teams we've lost to have scored against other teams, it's not as bad as the games that we've had against them, but there's also potentials that we could have won a couple of those games if we didn't have penalties and didn't have touchdowns called back and momentum. This is football is a swing game. And people don't understand that. They think, yeah, you just go out here, oh yeah, we scored a touchdown, you scored a touchdown. No. If they score a touchdown, then you miss this touchdown or you miss this field goal, that's a swing of 10 points. And then it goes into the next rally and over, and it builds over time. Your momentum slowly gets diminished. This is one of the key things I feel, and I feel like Chadwell understands this. I honestly feel like I've heard him quote, "This is a game of swings." So the whole staff just needs to get that in their head, and players as well, that this is a game of swings, and there is realistically no opportunity for a breather. Like when we're coming from the bottom up, like we are now. Let's take a page out of Jacksonville State's book again, not offensively, but last year they started off terribly and then were red hot to finish the season and, of course, won the conference championship. We've got to be real with ourselves, watch film on ourselves, and adjust accordingly. I think a lot of these problems could be solved in the film room and just mentally. These are a lot of mental errors that have been made. But, I feel like our overall play, to have such a vastly different team from last year, has been okay so far, but we've got to clean things up. We have got to get coaches on the same page of utilizing their athletes for what they need to do. They've got to stop being scared to use people that maybe haven't played as much this year on offense, and defensively, we've got to see more energy. It's not fun to watch the D come off the field upset and then all go sit on the bench and not even talk to each other or not address anything. It's not a good sight when you see that. You should have energy. You should be hard all 4 quarters, no matter what's going on. You should be ready to get out there on that next series and rip it up. And if we keep that mindset, we are going to be fine. But yeah, guys, I know that was kind of a long ramble, and I did not stop talking for like 17 minutes straight, but just kind of getting antsy about putting something out there. And I know I didn't post any shorts the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I feel like I'd cover all of this in one go. So I appreciate you guys hanging around if you watched the entire thing, and I hope that you understood what I was saying. Flames, if any of y'all are watching this, love y'all. Please consider my advice if you think it's good. If it's bad, then tell me to shut up. But no, much love to every single person on the team and the staff. You guys make fall special. So I appreciate everything you've done for us and for the school. Peace out, guys, and enjoy the rest of your week.